So
With the Italian accent?
Yeah.
With a broken...
They wound her up.
You could
We
say
only
things
had
like
one
that.
person, and she was so sophisticated, she sat here of 5 groups, and she didn't like it, and I felt, well, she probably had nothing to say. You know,
That's right.
she, good,
Then she gets a
everybody.
frische fische, she make a good talk. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, then I said, how many people here, Italy's great, I went to Italy. How many people here went to Italy? And they all, almost everybody raised their hand, and then they all started to talk about Italy. And then they talked about the Virgin Islands, they talked about Nassau, they talked about all these other things. All because they're looking at paintings.
Isn't that
See,
But
right?
no one,
Isn't that
and so they're going to continue this. This was Emily's idea
Great
with the
idea.
nursing homes. They had
Oh.
5 of them in here.
Bless her soul.
And they're going to come back in August, and they're going to be painting. And we're not going to
Marvelous.
teach them anything, just to have fun being amongst paintings, painting, instead of painting in a nursing home, you know.
Yeah.
Paint the
Do you
association.
remember how Trink ended up?
Here's a painting I did in Yosemite many years ago. I had a group here from the nursing home, and one lady, she was sitting back there and moving her hand like this, and she says, I'm climbing that cliff. And she said, I did it. And she was using the painting. And it meant that she did it, it was her challenge, and she became well again. And this painting said to her, I feel alive again. So then we wanted to see, why did you feel alive again? And then we looked, well, these cliffs were made, millions of years ago when the earth was formed, and the light plays all, even bounces into the shadows. You get beautiful patterns in the shadow. And can you see how, as you have man down here, and how small he is to the grandness of nature. And then we took the blue paint, blue from the sky, and I put a little white in it, and I danced. I became the light, hitting all through my painting, moving like a piece of music. And that light that's up there is also down in here, and that light touches these figures, because the light touches us all. And then it moves, and it keeps coming around, and we're dancing through the landscape with the light. Another thing on this painting is the space, and I tried very hard. Well, I didn't try hard, it became natural. Is I'm in love with space, and you can feel that these green trees, and with the dark marks and everything, and these trees are right out at you. And I'm standing here in those green trees, and I'm not over there, because over there, I didn't work it out so much. And then can you see, as I move into here, the green starts to be not as green, it's neutralized. This is the air, the atmosphere is moving through the painting. You take the color of the atmosphere and add it to the color, and now I'm there, and you can see far away. You can see, I'm here, I'm there, and I'm far away. And then I come back again. And here is the sky leading you into the painting. This is called an implied line to help you move around. And can you see that line of the blue runs right into the line here, and it turns and it comes into the tree. And one of my favorite paintings, up above, is a painting of Half Dome. And it was done in the evening. And I was with my friend Lynn Luskatoff, and we were there. We knew what we wanted to get that light. And it happened so fast that up there, and I got my whole drawing done, and I laid in some of the shadows, and then waited for the light. And as soon as that brilliant light came on, within minutes, I put that light on the painting. And this painting took only an hour about. And then when I got home, I added the geese to give it scale. And you can see the same thing with the greens here, and how they move back to that tree, and they move over there, and they're way over there. Color in space, color in the atmosphere, values in space. And painting a Pigeon Cove Harbor, and this old boat I found one day. In the evening, I have 3 old dogs, and we were walking, and I came across this old boat. It had never been there before, and I quickly started to paint it. It was getting late, and I couldn't finish. I had to finish it at home. The hardest thing was to put this sky on that is the sky of the evening. It's such a perfect mark. I hope that's on the outside. Oh, no, phooey, it's on the inside of the frame. And I walk down the road here, but I'm really standing here because here my color is the strongest. Oh, no. I'm not even there. I'm here. So you can always tell where you are because the color is stronger, the values are stronger, everything is nicer where you are, and everything moves. And now we have the great rocks of Pigeon Cove Harbor. And one of the ladies said from the nursing home, she said, I could travel so far back in that painting. And I said, you can travel far back because look what's happening to the color of orange on the rock. Look at that color to that color. Look at that color to this color. Look at that to this. And color loses as you go back. And one of my favorites that nobody looks at is, and you're probably getting a glare on this because you've got to be way far back, is Eastern Point Yacht Club from the parking lot at the lighthouse. Everybody went to paint the lighthouse that day. And I thought, oh, I love the atmosphere. I love that day. And so I painted the yacht club because the yacht club was only part of the scene. What the whole painting is, it's a day. And if you notice, I took and this is all intuitive. If you follow the line here of that big bush, and then you go to the tree, and then you come back to the sky and come down again, it's making a frame, a natural frame for the yacht club. And another painting of Yosemite, and you could see I loved Yosemite. I put them all together in the show. And this is early morning. I'd gotten up quite early, and I opened the door of the cabin. And this is what I saw in front of me. And I dashed this painting off so fast because you can't wait around when you're working with light. Why do you work so fast? Because I had 50 or 60 years of learning to be an artist, of knowing how to grab things right away. And I got it in. And how unfortunate it would be. My friend wanted to stay at the big fancy hotel, I think it's the Yawani. We stayed one night there. And I said, no, I want to be part of the Yosemite. And so we stayed a couple nights in the cabin. You couldn't have seen this. When you go to a national park, stay in the park. Don't stay at your fancy places. You only see swimming pools and things. Here we see the glory of nature, wonderful nature. And this is in Carmel, California. And my friend Martha Peabody was looking at this and she said, I know that place. I ran all up and down that cliff. I ran all around there. I said, no, Martha, you couldn't have done that. That's behind the mission in Carmel, California. And she said, oh yes, I was there and I ran. And you can see why I like this painting so much, and this is one of the most expensive ones in the show, is because the washes went on so perfectly. There was just enough atmosphere in that day to soften the washes, to let the paint move and settle at its own pace. See, some colors are heavy, some colors are light. They stay on top, some colors sink down, and that depends, so it dries differently. And I can go way back in here. See that blue mark? I'm so far back. I'm further back there than I am here. Then I'm coming over, and the atmosphere drops me down. See, everything is dropping down there. And from there I move to here. And then I come here, and then I can run with Martha. And I set this still life up. It was in my studio. My studio is in the basement. Everybody comes to my studio. It's a high ceiling, lots of light and everything. We can really set things up. And I wanted, whenever you set up a still life, it isn't a still life. You're creating a world that you want to live in. And I was creating my world. And in entering my world, I came right into a golden section. Here is a golden section piece, and it's breaking into another golden section. It's a very important piece. And I put this vase. But you don't notice the vase as much because the vase is next to values that are close. And from the vase, the Oriental statue, I wanted brilliant light and fun, so I used this fan, and the happiest color you can use is yellow, and I painted it more of a yellow than an orange. And now, when I'm talking about orange, now I'm creating with orange, and when you take a color, the color moves, and you balance the color through the painting. And you can see this mark here goes with that mark there, goes with this mark here. And can you feel the rhythm in the orange? They're just not put on. And from there, I want to travel through my still life. I want to live in it. And where do I want to go? I love that little Oriental figure. And I painted this with great detail. If you can zoom in on that face, and spent a lot of time in that. That was not fast. And from that, I had to balance him. And so I balanced him with the rose. But the rose is not even nice color because I wanted to see him. It's fresh, but it's more in the shadows. It's a shadow and a light that's, in between the light and the shadow, when it's just turning. And so I'm in there and I'm balancing that with this. Feel the circular movement again. And now I have another circle. So here, this is all filled with rhythms of circles. Circles everywhere. And every painting has to have a dominance, and my dominant is this, that I see, is the orange. Although I love the man, you always look where your lightest lights and darkest darks are coming together. So although he's so small, I have him surrounded with dark so I could see him. And then the painting is held together with blue. There's blue everywhere. The blue is holding the painting together. And I love painting portraits. If I could live another life, I think if I could live another life, I would just like to be with children and always painting their portraits. I love the innocence of children, and I also love painting them in watercolor because of the purity of, you have to do it very quickly with pure color. How I used to do the figures, I would wet the paper and I'd take light yellow ochre and draw in it with light yellow ochre. I'd draw the whole figure and all the features. And then if you make a mistake, all you do is you take your sponge and you sponge it out. It's much easier than an eraser. And so I'd have the whole drawing, and then I would lay the shadow on, just like I did in Yosemite, and then lay on the light. The light must always be pure. Wherever the light hits, the color is very pure, and the shadows can be over the light because the second wash is always quieter than the first wash. And so the shadows, you feel quiet, and the light is pure. And you can see how I changed the color completely as I was moving around this figure. There you go. Okay? I've always painted Eastern Point lighthouse, and one day I decided to do a painting, and this took many, many days, maybe many weeks to come up with it. Look at this wash here of the, just notice this wonderful wash that I got on. Oh my, that's the heavy atmosphere coming in and touching everything. And I put the lighthouse, I made a square. No, here's a golden section piece. And into this golden, right there, into this section, I painted the yacht, the lighthouse, and into this area, I did the entire beach. And then I took the figures, man, woman, and child. This was from another painting I did, and I put them right in the center because I felt that the family is so important. But you don't notice it as much because the values. See, it's how you work those values. The values are close together. I wanted to go over and see what those boys were doing. And so here they are, they're getting clams. They're going, and you see that figure right here. That figure is so pure. It's in the light. It's orange. And not only is it in the light against the dark, and it's pure color to grayer color, but it's got the complement of the blue, dark blue, against light orange. So there isn't any way I cannot look at that figure. And that figure is in a square. There's the square. Move it down. Oh no, it's not the square. Oh phooey. The group is in the square, not the figure. But that little figure is so strong that that figure balances the whole lighthouse. See what happens when I get rid of that figure? And you see the whole painting's going to fall over that way. But this figure here is balancing the lighthouse, and it's being held together with the family. And I am standing here on the rock. It's warm against cool. The same colors are used in the painting. And I'm wandering through, going here, coming down there, going over there, and then bouncing back again. This painting is called The Inner Struggle, and everyone goes through hard periods in their life, and some people go to get help from the medical field. We all find it in different ways. Some people travel. And I worked this painting out. I worked my feelings out. I was in a terrible depression. And I worked it out through this painting. And these horses way up here are all the past. And they're overwhelming me. They're coming down. And this is coming down, hitting there. See that line there? It's hitting the horse there. These are coming down, they're moving down, and they're going to move into this horse. This horse is me. This horse is trying to comfort me. This horse doesn't want anything to do with me. Here, I'm in the turmoil. This was the hardest thing of all to paint, this foreground. And it's moving, and can you see how close I am? Look at the beautiful shape there. I must have put that shape in 10 or 20 times to get that shape. And that shape takes me through the painting. And so I'm struggling. But over here, there's all these horses come running. And of course, the white horse is in the center. And they're coming, and this is the future. And although I'm in the inner struggle, there's going to be a beautiful future because it's coming to me. When I finished that painting, I thought it was out. I had solved my problems. I had to paint through it. Every winter, I'd go down to Florida to see my father. And this is, he lived in Englewood, but this is near the beach. It's Placida, it's there. And, oh no, it's Punta Gorda. We were into Punta Gorda. And these wonderful little houses, they said there's nothing to paint in Florida. These are restaurants. I just used the shapes and painted it simple because what I want to see, and it's there. Always look to the sky and what is happening in the sky. And this is Florida today. The beautiful palm trees are there. Don't look at the fancy little gardens and the restaurants and all the malls and everything. Simplify that and move to the sky. And see, I'm moving up and I'm coming down. And everything starts here and it ends there. And I was with my friends Heidi Caswell, Heidi Zander now, and George Harkins, and we always painted together. And where I stand, color is, and values are always nicer. I didn't want to paint all the foliage and everything that's there. I wanted to see the palm trees, and so I just used the purest blue right out of the tube, cobalt blue. And I'm dancing with the cobalt. I'm having a dance with color. And the color is moving. And it's right there. So we dance without the music, but with the paint. And now up on top is a painting of the banyans in Punta Gorda. And I wanted to show how big they were. And so I painted the horse and riders. You know how big a horse is. And I put them close to the trees, behind the tree, but it shows how big the tree is. And then the horse, as we go back into the distance, and the beautiful space division in there. But what I wanted to do in this painting is to wander around. I wanted to move behind the tree. Caravaggio did this in the 1600s. And you do it with an edge. Instead of just having it flat, you want it to, the tree to come out at you, and you want to be able to move behind the tree. And can you see I have darks and then a mid-tone, so I'm moving, I'm here, and I'm going behind that tree, and I'm popping out again with the figures. Yeah. And getting a little tired. Okay. This is a scene in Rockport Harbor. It's 1972, I think, and a sudden storm came in. And they had just come back from sailing. It was a microburst, and it just came right through, broke all the sails and all the masts in the harbor, and then it cleared again. And I painted the picture, but then years later, I kept thinking about it, and I just did this simple painting of this young man. And it's a fishboat, broken mast. He looks a little dejected. Here you can see I'm very close on the water. The water colors are so pure and bright, and the color's moving up, and as it moves up and it's going out to the horizon. So fortunate that the washes ran, and that's the rain. We know that rain does that, breaks the horizon. The sun was just coming out, and it hit the figure. It's a very quiet painting. I moved with the color of the boat from in the shadows to the light. So the light is a cool light. It's very pure. So as I'm moving, this color is more pure than that, although it's warmer, to give me the length of the boat. And I thought it was good putting the ocean scene right above there. That's Bass Rocks in the early morning. You can see I have a boat being pushed with the wind that way. The boat is going that way, the wave is going that way, the big wave is going that way, this wave is going that way. And by getting all those directionals in, that's what gives you the wind. I'm pushing the boat. And then I have the opposite directional with the wave breaking and coming on an angle to give a little tension in it. This painting had been sold in 1973. I bought it back 2 years ago from an estate. And this painting here is painting one day over at Rocky Neck. And it started, the old boat, it started to rain. And I thought, oh, I gotta hurry, I want to get it in. But I couldn't. I had drawn it, spent a lot of time drawing, getting everything right, getting all the colors working through the painting. And then the rain came. And I was so fortunate. I was able to, so you can see the raindrops, I was so fortunate to get to the car. And it dried perfectly. Another 2 or 3 seconds, I would have lost the painting. It was just a happening. They say an accident prefers a prepared mind. Well, my mind was prepared to, let's see if I can get out of here before it runs. And then right above it, I have Gloucester Harbor, just the old dory pushing out and moving back in to the lobster boats. But notice how the color changes. The water is always changing. It's never the same. It's always changing from here to there, from there to there. And so on this one, you see the color changes. It's never the same because it deals with the light and the space. That wonderful light and the space that it's in. Thank you. Years ago, we were involved in a war in Bosnia, and I, in bed at night, I put the radio on, and they talked the bombing all night. And I couldn't turn the radio off. I kept thinking of the people, the terror that they must feel, the terror that they're feeling now. Bombing is still going on all over the world. And all I think about is people. And so I started to paint it, but then I got so depressed I couldn't. I put it away, and September 11th came, and then we were bombed. And the plane hit the towers, and then we started the bombing again, and the world's falling apart, and I started to find figures that each one meant something to me. This painting is all put together in dynamic symmetry, and each figure in the painting has the importance of the figure. And I'm not going to get into that. It's completely worked out. It took me forever. You cannot leave the painting. The painting is however it's lined up. It's one piece is going into another. But I became this woman, and I'm in a panic. I don't know what's happening. And this came from a painting I did in Mexico, in Portugal, of people on the beach. And I used her, but she represents me. And this man here, an old Italian man, so dejected. And this painting was rejected at one of the associations. And I got home and I was devastated, and I repainted him, and I repainted him so many times that the texture of the man is different from the rest. But now I kind of like the idea that he's different. I like his face bend too. And these people, along with this figure, are looking out. You see, they're looking here, out of the painting. They don't know what's going on. That's the world. They're looking into the world. What's happening? They don't know. And here you have a grandmother, and she's so frightened for her grandchildren. And a father and his child, and this is painted in pure color. The purity of the family. And again, terror of the people. Awful things happening. And this poor old man from Mexico, painted him many times, all different poses. He was blind, and he's given up. He's put his head down. And the woman here with her baby, not trusting anyone. She's in a very important position. Holding the baby, don't you dare come near my baby. And over here, the young, innocent girl, and sitting above her is a woman from Rockport who did so much good, and she's lived to be very old, and she signifies wisdom and understanding. And I must look at her all the time to try to become calm in this world. And I come here, and I'm coming down, and I come to the dog, and that's my dog. Oh, it just died. Died a couple days after September 11th. And from the dog at the feet, I'm going up again. And I can't sell this painting, and I can't hang it in my house. I hang it in the basement where I don't see it much because it makes me very sad. Vases, and this is such an important one here, and all these wonderful vases of Mexico, not India, Mexican vases, and the joy of the still life here. Of the birds, working with that, and I'm all over. And this is an old Navajo vase I bought from a Navajo woman right at the side of the road, and I bought a piece of jewelry that I wear all the time. And from that vase, and it's attached to the blue piece. It's all one piece in the painting. See the vase and this blue, it's all one piece. And from this turn here of the vase, I'm turning in again with this light. And this light is taking me up to those flowers, and then from those flowers, I'm dropping down to these flowers. And here, I go way back into the still life, into the far space. Oh no, I can go further than that. I can go from that space, I can move into more space. I can go into the space there. I love space. And now I want to go further back into space. And you see the intensity of the color. Although it's dark, it's intense. And now it's light, but I'm losing intensity. Oh, but now I'm picking up intensity, and now I'm really intense. And so I am able to wander all through that still life. Thank you. And although I'm a landscape painter, I'm so involved with the light. And this is set up in my basement studio where I have the north light coming in so brilliant in the morning. It's the sun and yet the coolness coming through the glass. I could only work a little bit of time on this. And I set this great vase up. I really wanted to say the vase. And I feel that you can, I wanted to get the vase that you could pick it up and hold it. And from the vase, I wanted to move to the Oriental figure. I paint the Oriental figures quite often. I have a nice collection of these Chinese mud figures, and you can see I'm moving right in from here. Look how dull that color is. I'm moving right in, and it's taking me to the figure. And above the figure, this is called an implied line. And from the implied line of that, I'm coming down to the figure, I'm coming into this, and I'm coming right down into there, right down into here. So all of that is making that figure, that implied line. We do this with the lighthouse. Lighthouse is so little, but we have the implied lines, and you use those implied lines, and the figure has become very important again. All this blue surrounding him, he's being surrounded with the blue. And now I wanted to open up space in this, and so I started right in the center. Right there I started, and I'm moving out into space. Can you see? I'm moving out, and I'm moving out. And that opens up space. It's perspective reversed. Instead of coming there, so I'm moving. I can't figure what I'm going to say next, so I'll just say, and I'm moving out into space. And I want to show how very important it is. And into these darks in here, I have darks. It's nice to see in the darks. And let your darks be jewel-like. They're wonderful to look into the dark. And this piece here is so simple and powerful. You want a big piece to hold up another piece. And this piece is strong enough to hold that up. And then as that's moving out, look how nicely this moves in and around. And it's all circle. You see, we want rhythm in our paintings. Painting is like music. And from here, we have the space. Look how far back we go there. And here, this is called refraction. I've used that little bit of dark against this here. And that little bit of dark pulls the drape out further. And I do it everywhere that I want to pull things out. And then, oh my goodness, all of a sudden the light becomes the brilliant light of the sun. This only happens within minutes, and then I have to wait to another nice day to paint again. And now the sun has come in, and it's hit the figure there, and it's only hit a small part here. So here's a little bit of the warm light. Not here, right there. Really bright light, bouncing right there. And the whole painting is held together, and it's a very simple painting, but very controlled with the light and the movement. Thank you. So long ago, I had 3 old dogs. They were all 15 and a half. 2 litter mates and another dog I found in Maine, and I didn't know that they were the same age. And they all grew up together and had a nice time. And this was our last painting trip. We're up at Arcadia, and this is a little town in Maine called Korea, Maine. And Joshie, the boy dog, although they were the same age, he was so much older that I found this place. We used to go up, a whole bunch of painters, we'd go up there and paint every fall. But I parked the car over here, and there was a little path, and I didn't look for any subject matter. I just looked for a place that I could put Joshie. And I carried this great big old guy. He was so arthritic he couldn't walk, and I put him on the pier there so he could see me. And then I set up my easel hoping that there was a subject. and oh, look what I saw. And then I started to compose, and I used the pier and this post. This post comes right in. I had to grab the paper right away, so this post came right into the square, right there, so I could look out that area. Can you see? I'm looking there, and this is very close to me. From this pier here and these lobster boxes, I'm able to jump on that pier, move from that to this house. This house is terribly important. The house itself, see that? The chimney right smack in the center. Can you see? And see how I'm using that center line. That's the implied line carrying you down. And this line here is in a golden section, the light and the dark. You can see that I painted the light so pure, and I laid the shadow over it so that the feeling of the yellow came through. And here you can see how, again, I'm traveling with my color, the purity of color. Look at this color here, and how it moves up, and it comes there and comes down again, and it's moving around. The color, this is taking me right down. Painting is completely composed. And I think on this one, I'm going to say God was kind to me that day because I was kind to Joshie, because this painting made the American Watercolor Society, and for a year traveled throughout the country with the American Watercolor Society. I never would have seen it if I couldn't find a place to put Joshie so he could see what I was doing. The other two dogs, although they were 15 and a half, were still lively, and they were poking through everything, but Joshie was here. In my travels going up to Maine every fall, like I was just telling you about, we went all the way up to Eastport, much further up, to see a friend. And the friend wasn't there, and I was so mad. She said she was going to be home, so I wasn't going to waste my time. I set my easel up in her driveway, and I looked down the street. All these homes nobody lived in. And in those days, you could buy those homes for $20,000 and $30,000. And here you can see I'm standing here where the color is strongest. I'm entering with the center, moving over that way, and then moving that way, opening up the space of the street. And from this color, I'm going down, and I'm moving little by little, changing the color down the street to there. The trees, again, this blue sky was very difficult to do. The trees are good-looking trees, I think. They were just a happening. The trees in the fall, just use the brush that way. And the whole painting was not working. It wasn't moving until finally I thought, I kept looking at those trees and the movement of the trees and the taking of the road, and I had to move through the painting. And to move through the painting, I took my brush and I wiped out and put the moon in. Now, with the moon there, I can come and I can make a circle and I can travel through my painting. You can see when the moon wasn't there, this is just smack up. With the moon there, I'm allowed to travel and live in my painting. Eastport, Maine. When I first came to Rockport, I still lived in New Jersey, and I used to come up here on weekends just to paint the model. We had it Saturday and Sunday at the Rockport Art Association, but on Saturdays they usually got children, and I loved to paint children. I was more of an oil painter then than a watercolor painter. And I found these in the attic for this show. So glad I found them and saw them again. This little innocent girl, and she must have been so frightened because you can see the tear in her eye there. And look at the color, how we change and move around the hat. The hat, it has form, and the hat is warmer there and cooler there. But it's cooler on this side too, but it's less intense. And look how the color changes as you move through the painting. And this little boy, well, he wasn't scared at all, a little older child, but I chose this because I liked the expression on his face and how I could dare to take the cool light as it hit the forehead, see the cool light there to there. See, it's not all in the, and that cool light is moving around. And then I used that same color here as I circled with the collar of the shirt. And I love these two paintings. And so we'll end it all. We'll start at my beginning painting in Rockport to my ending painting in Maine.